What's up everyone, Master Fox here today, continuing UA week with a UA deck profile. So let's get right into it. I'm running 2 Dreadnought Dunker. This card is really good because the 2500 attack on him is very relevant. He is the strongest UA monster outside of Playmaker, but Playmaker is not that good. I'll get into that a little bit later. Dunker allows you to get over threats like Dark Law, whereas Slugger with only 2300 attack can't do that. So Dunker is important for that, as well as his secondary effect, which allows you to do piercing damage as well as destroy cards if you do battle damage. So he's a very powerful card, and why wouldn't you run him? You want to dunk some Noob Lords, right? Okay, continuing on, we have 2 Rival Rebounder. This card is very solid combined with Signing Deal. You Signing Deal into whatever monster you want. Use it as tribute fodder for Rival Rebounder. Rebounder gets it back. So essentially, you just get a free monster off of that combination right there. And then we're running 2 Blockbacker and then 1 Goalkeeper. I like the single Goalkeeper. I chose to run it over my 3rd Perfect Ace because Goalkeeper allows a little bit more versatility in the defensiveness of the deck. It also allows you to stall, and its 2800 defense is very relevant. It's able to wall off Monarchs that are not boosted by their field spell, as well as Forerunner in the Cosmo matchup. And it's overall a very solid wall, and the best wall in this deck probably. Blockbacker is a good wall too, but it has less defense, and Goalkeeper overall is a better wall in general. Blockbacker is better at disruption, as is Perfect Ace. Perfect Ace is very good disruption as well. And then we have 3 Slugger. Not much explanation needed here. He's just the Amadis of the deck, and he's what carries forth the OTKs and attacks without any sort of fear. 2 Perfect Ace, and then 3 Midfielder, the heart of the deck. I choose to run Rank Up Magic, the 7th one here, just because the deck doesn't use the extra deck at all, and so you have all this free space, so you can fill it up with the ranked up monsters. And plus, this deck is terrible at top decking, so this gives it the one chance to get that heart of the cards moment. You can easily drop it for consistency cards. It does tend to brick a lot, especially in YGOPro. I always tend to open up with this card so much that it's probably not worth running, but I still run it. 1 Rhoda. This is obvious to get your midfielder. Rhoda going to 1 really hurt this deck. Not much else to say there. 3 Terraforming, because you need your UA Stadium as fast as possible. Plus I'm running the single chicken game, so it's nice for that. 1 UA Turnover Tactics. This card is very good against extra deck heavy reliant decks like Burning Abyss. Burning Abyss is a really annoying deck for this deck to deal with, so giving it UA Turnover Tactics allows you to basically shuffle away their walls of Dantes, and then they don't get anything in return, while you can switch your UA monsters from your deck with the ones from your field and get whatever you need for that situation. So I like to run it at 1. And then we are also running 3 Stormforth. Stormforth fixes a lot of brick hands and allows you to summon basically almost every single UA monster in the deck, bar Dunker and Blockbacker. Because even Goalkeeper is a level 6, in case you guys didn't know that. I didn't realize that it was level 6 actually until I looked a little bit more closely. And then we're running 3 Power Jersey. This arguably is the most broken card in the deck. Doesn't need too much explanation. It gives you the ways to OTK essentially. 3 Signing Deal. This is incredible consistency, also known as UA Lives, a play on a hero lives, because it basically functions in the same way, except it's arguably much better because it doesn't require any prerequisites on field for activation, and you lose less life points. Most of the time you're only losing 1200 since you're trying to get to your midfielder anyways. And here I'm running the single reasoning. You can choose to run whatever else you want to run here. I'm just experimenting with the single reasoning. I know there's a separate reasoning build, which I'll get into a little bit later, but I'm just kind of playing around with this card right now. 3 UA Stadium, and then the single chicken game. I'm running 2 Royal Decree because I'm playing on YGOPro, and there's so much Rogue that I need the Royal Decree if I want to pull off any sort of OTKs outside of Slugger. Especially with Dunker, I need to have this Royal Decree, or else there's just so many traps that you run into with Rogue. I just need to use this. In real life, I would probably use Twin Twisters instead. And then we have Penalty Box. The extra deck is not really important. I'll just go over it really quick. Draco Sack, Big Eye, Gaia Thunder Charger, Photon Strike Bouncer, Adrius, Bulkasaurus, Gaga Cowboy, Abyss Dweller, Castell, and then we're running these 6 monsters for rank up Magic, the 7th one. And then here are just some other cards that you could think about or different builds. Playmaker, he has the highest attack of all UA monsters, and he can boost attacks of other UA monsters up even more. But I find him to be pretty underwhelming. I don't think I would run him in any deck. If I did, I would run him at 1 and no more than that. And here is the Super Quantum Mech blue layer. So in the OCG, Monarchs have been using the Super Quantum engine, and obviously as a tribute-based deck, not really a tribute-based deck, but a deck that uses the tribute summon at times, the Super Quantum engine is obviously applicable to UA, and it's actually pretty good. You could use the single blue layer with 2 red layers and then 3 emergency teleports, and it gives you an engine to tribute around, so you don't have to run things like Stormforth. And overall, I think it's a solid engine, although I think I prefer Stormforth because Stormforth doubles as removal. Some people have been considering using the Monarch Squire engine with Idea and Eidos, but I find this worse than using the Quantum engine because the Monarch Squire engine is vulnerable to effect negation, mainly Veiler, which a lot of people are maining against Monarchs. So the Quantum engine is superior if you're going to run a secondary engine. But overall, I still find pure using Stormforth to be better, just because Stormforth doubles as removal. Rather than generating your own tribute fodder, why don't you just tribute your opponent's stuff? It's better in my opinion because it gets around a lot of different threats. And then here's Twin Twister. I would run Twin Twister instead of Royal Decree in real life, just because Twin Twister is faster, and so you can set up for your OTK almost immediately, whereas Royal Decree is a little bit slower. And then Kaiser Coliseum is another card I began to consider, because most of the time UA is not really spamming the field so much. You can handle just having 1 monster in the field at a time, and this will really hinder a lot of other decks that have a lot of monsters in their field. Because if you can set this up your first turn against even Monarchs, Monarchs will have a hard time because they can't get their Idea and Eidos combo off if you just have a single monster. And other decks will have a lot of problems with this as well. The main drawback, though, is that it doesn't work too well against Cosmos, since a lot of Cosmos can use this card themselves. And then there's a separate build, the Reasoning build, where you max out on your 3 Reasonings. And it's very solid because between levels of 4 to 7, it's hard for your opponent to guess correctly. Most people will guess 4 just to try to stop midfielder, which allows you to run into your other monsters and get a free summon. I think Reasoning is a solid build for Pure, and it might be the direction that I go in the future. And then as for Floodgates, I think Rivalry and Gozen are very, very good in this deck. Every single card in the main deck is a Earth Warrior, so both of these cards work very well. I think Rivalry is probably a little bit better because most decks have different types but have similar attributes. Monarchs are mostly dark and light, and but their monsters are all different types. Like Erebus is a zombie, and I think the Eidos is a warrior, so they're all different types. So Rivalry works really well against them. Cosmos kind of works well, but if they can tag out, say they have something like a Farm Girl on the field, and if they're trying to tag out, as long as they can show that they have another monster that's a psychic type as well, they can just show you that, but then they can tag out into a machine type monster. So it's not flawless against a deck like Cosmos, but I still think Rivalry is a pretty good card. And then all the Draco Pal variants that are coming out right now, Rivalry will shut most of those down, as will Ghost and Match, but I think Rivalry is better overall. Call of the Haunted is interesting. I just realized that UA Stadium is a trigger effect that activates on either player's turn. So if you use some type of build that dumps your UA monsters into the graveyard and summon them with Call of the Haunted on your opponent's turn, you can get the 500 attack boost during your opponent's turn as well, which means you can get an 1,000 attack boost overall between yours and your opponent's turn, which is kind of interesting. I might toy with this in the future. I'm not really sure where that would go though. Breakthrough skill, this card I would run in the reasoning build because you can get some free advantage just negating stuff from the graveyard. It's not the best because a lot of targeting effects aren't that good right now, but I still would run this if I was running the reasoning build. And then the last two, more side deck type cards, you can main them though if you really wanted to. But cards like Macro and Dimensional Fissure are very good in the side deck for UA because UA doesn't really care about cards in the graveyard unless you're running Call the Haunted or anything like that. Your deck doesn't really care about stuff getting banished. I know you have Rival Rebounder, but his effect is rarely used, and even if you have him to use, it's okay. It's not like you need to use this effect to win. You don't really need to use this effect to win. And so these two cards hurt a lot of other decks much more than they hurt you, and that's why they're perfect in the side deck. Like Monarchs, it hurts Monarchs a lot if they lose their Pantheism and stuff like that when they get sent to the graveyard under Macro. And Cosmos can't do the banishing from the graveyard for their ships, so they can't float their ships. So that's really good. And then all of the Pendulum stuff going to the graveyard will get banished instead, so they can't send their stuff to the extra deck. So these two cards are very, very solid against all sorts of meta decks. So that's just a glimpse at the deck profile I have right now overall. Tell me what you guys think in the comments section below. Give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you guys in my next video. Thank you.